Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sam.
And we're MD Board Gaming. And today we're going to be taking a look at World Wonders, published by Arcane Wonders and designed by Z Mendez, one of those two.
Mendes.
This is a game for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in about 70 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how it's played, and we'll come back and give you our final thoughts. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've set up a 3-player game of World Wonders. This is going to look pretty similar to what it's going to look like. I have it all kind of crammed in to fit on the screen, but you're going to have your main board up here where players are going to be able to buy certain items, including roads, different tiles that are going to become available on the market, some towers, and not everything is out here, and I'll explain a little bit why. With the wonders, I have all the wonders sitting out here, but I'll explain and show you how those work. Every player is going to have a little reference here. They're going to get their main grid board here, so you can play with the lakeside where everybody has the exact same board, or you can play with the other side where it is a river, and the river is different for every player board. So you can see here for the river, they're all different depending on which board you get. Also, you will get your little board down here that is going to keep track of your gold, as well as all the different little icons that you're going to be collecting and moving up these tracks. The game is going to end once somebody's population reaches the very end. However, you can decide to play a longer game. So each board has an A side and a B side. The only difference on the B side is that the population track is a little bit longer, so it will make the game a little bit hard, I guess. Not necessarily longer because it's going to be 10 rounds, but this portion will be a little bit longer if the game's going to end via population. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead real quickly. We're going to walk through the different actions that are going to be available to you on your turn. Everybody's going to start with 7 coins, and you are going to, on your turn, make a purchase, and there's also an optional action that you can take. So if you have coins available still in your area, right, because you're always going to have 7 every single turn, you can optionally take a loan. This is going to give you 2 coins right off the bat, so you can go from 7 to 9, or if you're at 4, you can go up to 6. You know how that works. But at the end of the game, by the end of the game, you either need to spend 3 coins in a future turn, or at the end of the game, you're going to lose 2 victory points. So you want to make sure you pay those loans back. All right. Another thing you're going to be able to do is you are going to be able to make some purchases. So first, you're going to have these roads here. So depending on the player count, you're going to have different sets. They're either going to be a set of 1 long road or these 3 small roads, which are always going to be the 2s and the 1. Okay, so you're going to be able to buy 1 set of those for a coin. And what you're going to do when you place the road is that a road must be placed adjacent to another road, or it must be placed adjacent to the sidewalk. So at the bottom here on your board, that is going to be the sidewalk. You can kind of see it there through the art, or it has to be placed next to a tower. Okay, so that's how those roads are going to work. Once you make your first purchase of the game, you will also place that road that you have. Roads can cross bodies of water. You just have to make sure that the first and last place of the bridge is going to be on land spaces. Okay, so you want to make sure they're not on the water. So that's how it's going to work. But you can build across the water. All right. Also, as you're going to see here on your board, you're going to have these little icons. Those are natural resources. We'll talk a little bit more about those, but you might not want to build on top of those just because at the end of the game, you're going to get points for those that are essentially filled up on all sides of them. They're going to give you a point at the end of the game. So you can build or you can buy roads. You can also buy these little podiums up here on the board, and this is going to automatically hold your spot in turn order for the next round. So you can buy this one for a coin and it lets you go first, or you can buy this slightly smaller one that lets you go second, but they're each going to be a coin. And so when you buy them, you will just take your player piece up here, turn order. I have them laying down just so it's easy to see, but they're just going to stand on top of it so you'll know who's going to be first next round. Okay, so you can make those purchases as well. Another thing that you can buy, and remember you're only making 1 purchase, is going to be the tower that I referenced to earlier here, this tower. So this again is going to let you build roads next to it, so it might help you be able to get roads out here. When you are building a tower, it does need to be placed next to something else that you built. So anything that you built, tower needs to be adjacent to that. And adjacency is going to be orthogonally up, down, left, right, north, south, east, west, that kind of thing, not diagonal. So by the tower, by these, you can buy the little podiums. The other things you're going to be able to buy are going to be these tiles that are face up from the market. All right. And each of them are going to be a different color, because what you're going to be doing is you are going to be trying to meet certain objectives for wonders that we're going to talk about, right? So you're going to have farms, you're going to have housing, you're going to have markets, you're going to have temples, and you're going to have libraries, okay? And what you do, this is going to be the big thing that you're going to be building up, is that when you buy one of these, the cost is going to be based on what pile it's from. So as you can see here, the cost is 2. There's also some pips at the bottom of the board, if you could see them, that will also indicate how much they cost. Okay, so the bigger the tile, the more cost it's going to get. When you buy a tile must be placed next to a road or adjacent. So adjacent to a road or adjacent to a tile of the same color. So when you place it out, okay. Also, when you place it out, you're also going to adjust your different tracks here on your board based on the icons that are on there. So for this library here, I'm going to get these 4 cogs. And this is going to be important because at the end of the game, whichever one of these 3 tracks here are the lowest, that is going to be turned into points. So you want to make sure you move them up all relatively equally, and not have one that's all the way straggling towards the back, because you're not going to get very many points. And you're going to be doing this throughout turns. Everybody's going to keep going around making one purchase until everybody's out of money or they pass. But the one last thing that you're going to be able to buy are going to be these wonders that you see here. These wonders, there are tons of them, and they all have different requirements. Okay, so let's take example Petra here. So if you build Petra, right there, it needs 2 spaces, and it also needs to be adjacent to 2 markets. So when you build this, you need to make sure that it is adjacent to 2 markets, and when you do, you're going to get 1 victory point. So these rings are always going to be victory points, and you're going to move up 1, I believe that's like pottery there. You're also going to have ones like this, the aqueduct. This one is going to give you a point, and then 1 of the little leaf. This one, though, when you build it, it has to have the ends of it need to be on land. So those asterisks means that those have to be on land. The middle ones can be water or land, doesn't matter. This one wants to be adjacent to water, a farm, and a road. All right. But then you're going to have some interesting ones. Let me find one real quick. Like these want to have gaps in between them. They want to be adjacent to natural resources, so that might be something. And it doesn't have to be a straight line. It shows you here, it could be like an L shape as well. You're going to see ones like this that require water, so they want to have water. You're also going to see ones like, oh, I have it right here actually, the Great Wall of China. All of these, so the Great Wall of China is actually consists of 3 pieces for this wonder, and when you place it, you're going to get a population and a victory point. But also you see here, this is saying that all 3 of those pieces have to be adjacent to each other. And one way or another, they have to be adjacent. So you can create like one straight line, or you can kind of cluster them up. Doesn't matter, so long as they are adjacent to at least one other piece from that. Okay, so as you're going through, they're each going to have their own requirements and what they're going to need land-wise. Maybe they want water, things that they're adjacent to. So when you're buying these things up and creating these spaces, you have to keep these in mind. All right. Same thing with the pyramids. They want to be adjacent to each other. So I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. So you're going to be building this up, and at the end of the game, after the 10 rounds, you are going to be able to score victory points. So you're going to score victory points based on your population track, how far it goes up on these little rings. You're also going to score, like I said, victory points for the lowest of these 3 tracks. Any wonders that you have, you're going to get victory points from those. You will also get victory points, like I spoke about, the natural resources that are going to be kind of enclosed on all 4 sides. And other resources. So that would be just just need 3 spaces, obviously. And then the last thing that you're going to do are going to be districts. So as you're building these out, you want to have them completely filled in, so no green spaces. So if I had this library like we were talking about, this isn't obviously legal because I don't have a road there, but I want to make sure that it is completely filled in, and that's going to count as a district. And so I want to make sure that there are no green spaces around it. Anything else counts, like water, that counts, but no green spaces, and that'll be able to get you victory points as well. And at the end of the game, you're going to have the most points. Now there is an advanced play where you have these cards here. So you start with 3 of them, and these are just going to be public objectives that you're going to be going for at the end of the game. Whoever achieves them are going to score additional 3 or 1 victory point. Okay. There will always be 3 of these wonders out at any given time, and you'll just keep cycling through them as they go through. But that is pretty much it. The one thing that I have found is that the roads seem to be the most complex rule about placing them and where they can go adjacent to the sidewalk, other roads, or a tower. So that is always a little bit tricky for people to grasp. Also, turn order is going to change based on the level of population. So as you go from round to round, turn order is going to be very important because there might be specific tiles that you're wanting to get. And these do not refill right away. So once it's gone, it's gone. So you have to keep that in mind. If there is a tie for population, you're going to look at who has the most wonders, and then that'll break the tie. All right. And if there's a tie for wonders, you just keep the same order that you were in. But that's pretty much all you're going to be doing. After 10 rounds, you score it up. Whoever has the most points wins. So that's going to do it for World Wonders. Let's go back and see what we think.
All right. And we're back. Thank you for teaching us how to play. So let's jump into our rubric. Yeah. So first is production.
Production. How about you go first?
I really loved the production, actually. I think the little like buildings and the little the wonders, right. The little architectural little buildings and stuff, like pyramids and whatnot, like I thought all of that was really cool. And they were all unique too, and it's not like there was just it was just like a I don't know, just like a wooden piece that was just like painted and whatever. Like,
I mean, they are all wooden pieces.
I meant like plain, like not with detail and stuff. Yeah, like I feel like they all looked like those specific, buildings and stuff. Like right. they had detail to them, and I think that they were nicely made. And it was cool because everybody's board looks different based on the buildings that they had and stuff. So I loved it. The production, and so I thought it was good quality.
Yeah, I think the wonders are obviously the big pull for this one. There's so many of them, and they're also unique. I also really like the graphic design on the cards. I think it was very easy to understand and know the requirements for each card. Maybe when you add in like the public objectives to make it like the advanced game, some of those might be a little bit more tricky to understand, but after like a play, you'll definitely get those. But for the most part, the graphic design was very straightforward and easy to understand. Oh, okay, it needs to be adjacent to library the library or the markets or whatever, or it needs to be next to water, whatever, that kind of stuff. Very simple graphic design there and iconography. Component quality was nice. Obviously, whenever I have those little tracks where I'm moving up different pieces, I always liked recess boards. So, and I don't know. I'm hoping at some point in time we'll get to the day in board gaming where recess boards will just always be in everything. But I don't know. That obviously will increase the price. But I'm always a fan of recess boards for that kind of stuff. So production is very nice. Yeah. Getting into preparation, so being able to set up, tear down, difficulty of the teach. I think it's pretty quick and easy to be able to set up and tear down, right? Everybody gets their board, they get their player pieces. You just have to build up the market, and depending on the number of players, you add on a thing, right? Like I like that you're gonna see it, you don't have to. So a lot of games, when it comes to player count and it comes to stuff like, oh, take out this many tiles of this, you don't have to do that. It's just like, oh, okay, you have 4 players, tack on this little board and add these tiles in. Easy, right? Or if it's 5 players or whatever the player count is, they change it up that way. Right. So, oops. So yeah, so I like that. It's easy to be able to set up. Tear down is obviously also easy.
I think you're really just sorting too.
Right, you're really just sorting like the roads and the pieces, and that's about it. The teach is pretty straightforward. There are a couple rules that I found were difficult for people to remember or maybe understand, and that is when it comes to placing the tiles. So oftentimes people just want to be able to, like a normal polyomino game, just build out. However, when you're putting out these tiles, you either have to make sure it's adjacent to a road or adjacent to a tile of the same color. So the market's got to be touching another market or the road, right? You can't just build them wherever you need to. But then I also think people often forgot that you could build roads next to towers, right? So a lot would just be kind of building off of the sidewalk at the bottom of the board, kind of thing. So that seemed to be the biggest confusion when it came to the teach. That was the biggest challenge. And then just continuously reminding people like, oh, you can't build that there because it's not adjacent to a road or to the same tile, right? So that was the biggest difficulty, I think, when it came to the teach. Yeah, were there any rules that you could think of that were difficult to understand other than that one? I think that was the one that was most commonly used.
That was the big one for me. And what is it? The reference card that we got that showed you where you could place, right?
Right.
I wish that was more straightforward.
Oh, so you didn't like the iconography on that?
No, because I felt like just the iconography itself wasn't helpful. Like I wish there would have been some kind of like verbiage on there that was like, you know, a road next to or a tile next to a road or a tower. Like I wish they would have just specified.
Like used actual words.
Used actual words.
It is a language independent game. There's not really any words on any of the actual components itself. It's all icons.
Right, exactly. So I mean I get that, but like for me personally, I feel like the iconography was it wasn't as helpful.
Okay.
You know, like I don't know. I just maybe a few words would have been
Okay. So I think that was the difficult point, the one issue with the teach that I always had. Next, talking about gameplay. So the mechanics, right? On your turn, you're going to be paying for these tiles that are available, getting roads, buying towers, getting a wonder, but really timing those out because, like, yes, I can get that wonder right my very first turn for that round, but it would cost all of my money. Right, so like, I want to be able to get these other things, but I also don't want to wait too long on getting this wonder because someone else might snatch it. So I like that little bit of a tension that was built in the game because obviously I think player order is a big deal. Like, okay, I really need to make sure I get first. So maybe I want to buy that little pedestal to put my piece on because I want to make sure I go first next round. Or, because you're going to get a lot of those good pieces are going to be gone by the time it comes around to your turn if you're going, fourth or fifth kind of thing, depending on the player count, right?
And you're kind of watching other people to be like, oh, like, are they really close to being able to get that too?
Right. And it's like, it could be that way because everybody's going after these same wonders, so it's a little bit of a race. So I do like the mechanics of that. I think that there is Plenty of. I mean, I guess the strategy is the same. I don't see a ton of avenues to victory other than trying to get the right pieces to get those wonders. Like that's what you have to go for. You have to get those wonders. Those wonders are going to give you a lot of points. But you're also looking at. I do like that idea of okay, I need to make sure I move up each of these tracks equally because the lowest one is going to score me points.
Right.
But I also want to get my population up there because that's going to trigger the end of the game, and I'm going to score points based on my population, right?
Yeah.
And get those extra.
You're trying to do that like balancing because isn't it your your lowest that's going to count, right?
Yeah, the lowest one of those resources are going to be what you score,
right?
And so, so I like the mechanics. I think. Did you have anything you wanted to add about mechanics?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, just that I liked the whole tile placement part of it.
Right. I know, we like the polyomino games, and I think thematically it did feel like you were building up these world wonders. Yeah. And the wonders really like pop out, right? Because of these big, chunky wooden pieces that you're putting out there.
Very thematic.
Right. So it feels like a world wonder on your board, whereas the normal, merchant areas or the residential spaces or whatever, they're tiles, so they don't stick out as much. So when you put those wonders, they have a presence on your board. So I think that felt very thematic in that sense. So, and you're watching you build up this civilization. So it does get a little immersive, I think, in that. Let's see here. Downtime. I don't know. I mean, turns should be pretty snappy. I didn't think in any of the plays that we ever had, I didn't think there was a lot of downtime in between turns.
Not really.
There were definitely times like, oh, wait, it's my turn? Especially when you get to where people are passing. Like, once somebody buys that wonder, they're, like, done. Right? And so turns are pretty quick when it comes to that. And you can, after you buy, like, while someone's placing, the next person can go, like, pretty quick. So I think it was downtime was pretty minimal. I mean, actions were pretty streamlined. The only thing when it came to like, I didn't see a lot of people ever take a loan. I think I did just to kind of experience it, but I think a lot of people, nobody took a loan. I think it was always just kind of, I don't want to have to worry about paying that back in the future kind of thing, or risk losing victory points. Right. So I think I didn't really see that anybody ever used that. I think in all the games we played, I'm the only one that ever took a loan. I only ever did it once.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, maybe if you're desperate in a situation, but
yeah, it wasn't frequent.
Yeah, it wasn't something that happened quite a bit. I will say one thing. So there is some luck, obviously, what tiles come out, what world wonders come out at what time. You might just automatically like, oh, hey, I have that, right? There is some luck there. So there is definitely luck to the game. The one thing gameplays wise that the game is fairly light. It's not a heavy game, right? Like you're literally just buying these tiles and building them out and trying to meet these objectives. And so that's what you're trying to do, and everybody's trying to score these points or these end of game.
It feels heavier than it is. Like, I mean, not feels heavier, but it seems heavier.
Right.
Like when you initially look at
it. I think, yeah, when you first see it, you think, oh, this is going to be a chunkier game, but it's really pretty mild on the teach and everything. And I think that's where I was kind of like a little disappointed with this, was because I wanted it to be a little bit more than, I wanted to be a more in-depth polyomino game. And it just wasn't in comparison to other ones like Planet Unknown or Isle of Cats, that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could have done something with those resources. So like you were building up those resources. I wish I could have had like a market or something. I could have done something with those.
Oh, I see
like
what you're saying.
An extra layer to the game.
Yeah.
Maybe if
you just wanted more like...
I wanted more strategy. I wanted just more more depth to the game.
not necessarily more difficult, but more like depth and more stuff that you could do.
Right. It just felt like everything was like a race to get the wonders, to get the objectives that we're going for, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. I think just by looking at the game and seeing it, I was hoping for a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a knock at the game. It's just knowing this isn't some big chunky meaty thing, like I was kind of hoping it was. But that's okay. That's probably more on me than the game, I think. So yeah, so there's not a ton of strategy in the game. I think it's just you're gonna build up, and everybody's gonna be trying to go for those same objectives and wonders and everything. So that's my thought. I don't know. Anything else you wanted to add with gameplay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was more simple than I thought it would be, which I liked. I mean, I agree though, maybe just like a little something extra. I don't know, maybe like if they do an expansion or something, like add to it.
I hope.
And that's my thought is like, okay, well, maybe it's like, it's like a base game, and in the future they might come out with more stuff to add to it. You never know. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it was once you got going, like easy, besides the rule with the whole like where you can place, I felt like that was the only thing that was kind of confusing. Right. But overall I liked the gameplay.
Yeah. Okay, so return on investment. Meets, exceeds, falls short. Thoughts?
I think mine exceeded, because going into it, I was kind of like, oh, it's like I mean, we play a lot of kind of like ancient civilization type of games. Like we like those games. And I was like, oh, I mean, is it like, I feel like some of those games, it doesn't feel thematic. And if I'm playing a civilization type game, I want it to feel thematic. Like, I feel like that's the point, is you're like building up stuff. And you want to feel like you're actually doing something like that, and not just like, whatever, put your piece here, put your whatever. But I felt like it exceeded, because I really didn't have much of an expectation, but I felt like going into it, I was like, I'll probably be okay. But I liked it more than I thought I would. So,
did you think it was going to be heavier than it was?
I did think it was going to be heavier.
So
like,
we were kind
looking
of on
at
opposite
it,
sides of that spectrum. Right?
Yeah, like looking at it, it looked heavier to me. But I liked the fact that it was more simple, but felt like you were doing more than what it was.
Right.
So, if that makes sense.
For me, I'm going to say it, because again, I didn't have to put a lot of investment into it. Like, the teach was pretty easy, the setup and everything was pretty easy. But I think it's still, my level of enjoyment fell short a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to say it fell short just a little bit, because I was expecting a little bit more to it, right? And building up these big wonders, but I didn't feel like I just like, oh, I fell into this wonder. This one popped up, and oh, I can get that. Okay, I'll get it. I'll score it. I didn't feel like I really built up to any wonder and was like, oh, I get this big, awesome thing. Like, the wonders would give you a point or give you a couple resources. I wanted them to have maybe more of an impact on the game. I wanted them to feel like more of an accomplishment. But there's so many. So there's there's tons and tons of these. I don't even remember how many are in there. Like 20 of them, I think, or maybe more.
I liked, too, the fact that, there was, like, when we were playing with Nick and Vic, that it was like we all had different wonders, which was cool.
Yeah, there's not like you're getting the same one.
Yeah, everybody, they all look unique, so everybody's board looks different. And so I liked that, because I feel, once again, going back to like the production and stuff, like it's cool looking. So the pieces.
Right. And they all have their requirements, but I just didn't feel like, for me, I didn't feel like I had to necessarily work super hard in order to get them. Like, I wanted to feel like a big epic thing. Like, oh, I built this world wonder. This is amazing. It should have some sort of effect or do
Yeah.
something. But I do like that they're all unique. So I think I was just expecting more out of it. And it
I was
didn't
the
quite
opposite.
deliver. Right. I was expecting more, and it was a little bit less than you were expecting. You were thinking it was going to be a lot more, and you didn't want that. So you were.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much from it, and I liked it.
So mine falls short a little bit there. So let's go ahead and jump into our scores for World Wonders.
Yeah.
I'm go first or you?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna give it like an 8.3.
Okay.
Because I did really enjoy it, and I felt like the time that was put into it, because I mean it says like 70 minutes. I felt like it was time well spent.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah.
Mine's definitely lower. So mine, I'm gonna come in at like a 7.6.
Okay.
I think it's a fine game. I really hope they come out with some content to support it that might make it a little bit more meaty and beefy, and not just more World Wonders. I hope that won't be a thing. I mean, I want more World Wonders, but I want them to have, I don't know, I want there to just be more depth to it.
Yeah.
Make it more gamery for me. So yeah, a little bit lower. But that's gonna be World Wonders. I know this is a pretty highly sought after game at Gen Con when we got it. And it was something that I was very excited about, and I still enjoy the game. It just fell short a little bit for me, but still enjoyable.
I liked it.
So with that being said, let us know what is your favorite World Wonder? Yeah, I don't know. Let us know what you think of the game. If this is something that you are, I think it's supposed to be coming more available this fall and everything. So let me know, or let us know if this is one you're looking forward to getting a hold of, and are excited to play. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye.